We are all aware that human rights that are proclaimed by the world bodies, and we adopt those as member of international community, can be safeguarded only if we make conscious efforts to fulfill our commitments. In the background paper of AAATI, it has been correctly noted that the practice of torture is widespread in most countries of Asia, including my country. I understand that prime objective of this meeting is to find ways forward in the fight for a torture-free Asia, and particular role of parliamentarians to promote the adoption of a sound legal framework for elimination of torture and its treatment in their respective countries. In the background paper, the sponsors have provided a 27-page brief on the state of human rights and practice of torture in Bangladesh. I'm not here to defend our legal system, but can only add that there are areas where extensive law reforms have been made, as well as there are areas which need much reform and modernization. The protection of citizens against torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading punishment or treatment. Since independence or creation of Bangladesh in 1971, several law reforms have taken place on the state of human rights of the citizens. The Right to Information Law 2011 has been passed following long-standing demands from the media and human rights organizations. Law separating the judiciary from executive branch has been passed in 2011, thus fulfilling yet another long-standing demand. A draft law formulated to replace the Police Act of 1861 aimed at improving accountability and quality of service of the police force has been posted on the government website for public comment. A bill titled Torture and Custodial Death Prohibition Bill 2009, tabled in the Parliament on 10 September 2009 as a private member's bill seeking to criminalize torture in Bangladesh in compliance with its international obligation. The Asian Human Rights Commission welcomed this bill. The passage of the bill as law is now dependent on the political will of the government, which has 3/4 majority. Role of parliamentarians. What should be the role of parliamentarians in a malfunctioning policing system where the police are out of control? It encourages crime. What kind of law reform is necessary to increase the competence and interest of police in criminal investigation? Is it correct to say that laws are designed to protect officials and not citizens? Section 46 of the Bangladesh Constitution empowers government to extend immunity from prosecution to any state officer on any ground. What should be the role of parliamentarians to repeal laws which are contrary to international norms and standards of human rights? Parliamentarians can play a critical role in domestication of cat. That is, provision of cat becomes part of the domestic legal system and thus establish criminalization of torture in any form. So far, torture is not defined as a crime in any existing law in Bangladesh. Now, see, my role as a parliamentarian. Well, I can see that, of course, you have invited the parliamentarians and you have given the objectives of this meeting today. You see, my role as a parliamentarian, obviously my role as a parliamentarian is to make legislation. But then, you see, again, I think it is quite common in any democratic society. So, you see, the laws are passed by the majority vote in the parliament. And there again, okay, as a parliamentarian, when you take a bill to the floor of the parliament for its passage, well, there is a first reading, there is a second reading, then a third reading. Third reading is the vote, of course, first and second, of course, subject to vote maybe. But then what happens? You see, if you are a member of parliament from the ruling party, you carry you carry the brief on behalf of the ruling party. So if the bill has this nod from the ruling party, it gets through. If it doesn't have it, the bill dies. Because the majority is the ruling party, so ruling alliance, whatever. And also, I'm not talking anything new here. I'm sure my colleagues and friends from other countries representing their parliaments, they would share this view with me. So, and then you're an MP from the opposition, of course you're an MP from the opposition. And well, we have a provision called private members bill. So under that cover, anyone other than the treasury bench can put a bill to the House for passage. But then you see, of course, as a member of the opposition, a parliamentarian from the opposition, you can table a bill, but that bill would not see the light of the day, that's for sure. Why? Well, again, unfortunately, like ours in many countries in the region, there is a prohibition that if you belong to a political party, and then if you vote against that desire or decision of that party on the floor of the parliament, you are liable to lose your seat. So we have that provision in our constitution as well. So there again, you see, right now, as I said, 3/4 majority is there, enjoyed by the ruling party in government. But then that bill also tabled by a colleague of mine, most of you know him, Mr. Sabar Hossain Chaudhary, member of parliament. I think this is second or third term for him. And he's an activist, he believes in human rights. And then the bill he has floored, he has tabled, is, of course, you have gone through this, makes a lot of sense. But then this has been lying there at the parliament desk for almost 2 years now. And if you ask me a question, would it get through? I cannot say yes or no. Probably it will not. Because it is the political will of the government. Political will of the government, or political will of the ruling party in the government, which will determine whether the bill shall see the light of the day. It will be enacted as a law. But again, so when you say that, when your expectation is there from the MPs, from the parliamentarians to legislate, you see, I think for the countries in the Asian region, I think most countries have problems where the MPs cannot really, I mean, even if you are an MP belonging to the ruling party, you have your limitations. If you are an MP from the opposition, and I happen to be the lone independent MP in Bangladesh Parliament, where we have 350 MPs, well, I have a lot of freedom. I stand up and I speak on issues. I speak out the mind of 155 million people. There is no opposition. Unfortunately, the speaker, while initially was hesitant, the leader of the House was hesitant, but now I am allowed the opportunity to speak. But then again, well, I record it, it goes on the parliamentary record, it goes on the parliamentary archive. But then, in practice, it does not, nothing is translated into action. And maybe there are very rare cases when an amendment to a bill has been accepted. But if you say what is the number, what is the percentage, maybe 5 to 6% of my amendments have been accepted, although I'm a very active participant in the proceedings of the parliament. So the point is, you see, making legislation, of course, we can induce the process, we can still be active, we can still promote the cause of human rights, we can still promote the CAT, and that is there. So don't be unhappy or disappointed when I make this statement. This is not a sweeping comment, but I would just want to highlight that if you make a resolution here and I carry it back home and I put it on the floor of the parliament, table it as a bill, and it gets through. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There are many processes of the parliamentary system. Anyway, and then as a parliamentarian, of course, I can call upon government to fulfill its commitment to implement CAT, adoption of Article 14.1, on which we have our declaration. We have ratified CAT, but we did not. We have our declaration on Article 14.1. And this is, of course, a very valid point. As far as I'm concerned, as far as my country is concerned, I think, of course, I'll keep on trying, and I'm a believer in that one. So there, of course, we have an opportunity there. And of course, then, as a member of parliament, of course, I'm privileged. My voters have been kind enough to vote me to the office of a member of parliament. In a country of 155 million people, I am one of 350. or one of 300 directly elected MPs. So I'm there. But then, of course, I can sensitize this thing in media, in press and all that. I can go on a talk show to the television, participate in a seminar, or give my opinion in a TV interview or newspaper interview. So, but those are important because when a member of parliament speaks, definitely people do take interest and it is the headline. It is the frontline news. So there I think we definitely have a role to play. And then I think also we can build alliance with the civil society and NGOs. I have this gentleman sitting next to me who's coming from Bangladesh, Odhikar, which is one of the top-ranking NGOs on human rights, and his organization is doing a very good job. And we are proud of our NGOs. We have a very strong NGO movement in the country, and there I think the parliamentarians, not only in my country, in other countries in the region, there are NGOs. And I have met a lot of gentlemen or the ladies who are representing the NGOs. And I think we can definitely join hands and work very closely, which is one of the objectives of this meeting today as well. And then, you see, the most important thing here for me is motivation. And the motivation is very important. We, you see, firstly, the people at the power corridor, we say political will of the ruling party. So they must be motivated, they must be told, there must be occasions to really impress upon these people that this cat is otherwise very innocent, but this is very fundamental to human rights. And these are birthright. So there, you see, I think we and you and this alliance here, you can play a very important role. I would encourage you to hold sessions and seminars in Bangladesh, not in Hong Kong. You cannot invite 300 MPs or something, but you could definitely invite the MPs, you could invite the activists and the civil society groups, and there raise these questions, even on 14.1. Which is very important, and of course we have this bill, but I don't think it's going to see the message. I mean, you don't need to quote me, but I'm not very hopeful. So there we need to motivate the people at the power corridor, which is very important. And the other one is the awareness, the public awareness. How many in my country, even the enlightened few who with college education, know about this cat and its ramifications and Article 14 and 1, unfortunately no. And I'm sure, like Bangladesh, I have friends coming in from here, from Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal. I should imagine they have the same scenario. So we have to work on the awareness of the people. And that could start from my own constituency. You see, my constituency is an island. We have 500,000 people. It's an island right down in the Bay of Bengal. And the people, of course, I mean, not very fortunate. They are not they don't have access to many information. And there are not too many who have access to newspapers, even who have access to television. So there, again, the NGOs, like my friends sitting here, they should reach out those areas. Tell them that what are their fundamental rights, and what are the clauses of redress, and what is torture, what is abuse or excess of police power. You see, and that they can still have a place to go to raise complaints. So there again, I think, that we as parliamentarians in our respective constituencies can play a very effective role. And of course, there we would need the active support of NGOs. If they come forward, will be there. I, for one, in my constituency, wherever I come across this, now that I've been exposed to this, the meeting here today, definitely I would go back home with a moral commitment. So I'm going to work towards that end. So now, the challenges here, you see, challenges again, this is very important, you know. And I heard a gentleman, the lawyers from the from the Hong Kong bar participating earlier in their deliberations, and I thought that you know, they are definitely doing a good job for their country. But I'm here also to do a good job for my country. At the same time, I'm here to participate in a very frank, candid deliberation here. You see, the political culture in third world countries, even I mean in Bangladesh, what is the political culture? You see, at the time of election, the election manifesto of all contesting political parties or alliances do highlight the issues of human rights. They're one of the number one priorities. If we are voted to office, we shall enact this law, we shall amend that law and all kinds of things. After the election is over, whosoever goes to power, they very conveniently forget. They don't keep that in their mind, but they are all well seated in the seat of power for the next 5 years. So this is a a major problem there, you see. And then the excess of police, abuse of police, torture. Unfortunately, the party in power do not turn its blind eye anymore. They probably encourage that. They probably encourage that. I mean, on the face of it, they do not do anything, but they do. And this is not, I mean, for example, I'm not saying this against the government that I have now today. This has been going on. In my country, I would say that since 1991, except in 2 years in between, we had a very good democratic process going on. And there have been elections and the parliamentary system, and then we participated in the deliberations, and everything is fine. But then there has been, instead of improvement, there has been aggravation. There has been deterioration in the concept and practice of human rights. Especially if you talk about the police access, abuse, or torture, or even the army access, abuse, or torture. Army does not get an opportunity to do it every day, but whenever they get an opportunity, they definitely go for the extreme. So here, the political culture has to be changed. But the good news is, we as a politician, as a bunch of politicians, as members of parliament, when you get together, okay, today I'm in the government, yesterday I was in the opposition. When I was in the opposition, I was a great promoter of human rights. No torture, no custodial death, no this, no that. But today I'm in power, no. But day after tomorrow I'll be again in opposition. This has been going on. We have had 4 good elections, and alternately the opposition came to power. I do not know what would be the fate of next election. So, and now the party which is in opposition, or the alliance which is in opposition, oh, they are raising hue and cry. Violation of fundamental rights, violation of human rights, torture, this and that. But then when they are there, I see, I have gone through those 27 pages, some valuable articles. Of course, they have highlighted most cases during the last government. I have not seen any during the current. There are even innumerable cases during the tenure of the current government. I'm not here to promote or demote any government here. I'm trying to be very objective, as I say. And as a matter of fact, I didn't know this. I was told that you're going to pay for my expenses, so I must do justice to the cost to the money you spend on me. But the point is, you see, it is a common evil. It is a common evil. We must address it very strongly, and we must be realistic and very pragmatic in our approach, very practical. And we cannot be utopian. You see, I'm not, with all due respect, well, in the earlier part of the day, my friend from Denmark, he said that in Denmark, they have effectively done away with torture. How big is the size of the country? 5 billion people. How big is the size of my country? 155 million people. And then my lawyer friend, he mentioned about Hong Kong. They used to have torture and practice of police access in the mid-70s, but they have effectively done with this. How big is Hong Kong? 70 million people. Only my capital has 14 million people. So the number is huge. Naturally, management is also huge. It's a huge task. We could not achieve results overnight. It's a matter of time. But the process has started, and we must graduate through the process. Process started, and we must. That's why I said that there are good news. That we have walked already, if not a long mile, we have walked half a mile, which is not bad. Now next half is going to be slow because we are already tired of walking half a mile. So there we need inducements, encouragements, inspiration from the outside, think tanks or the bodies like yourselves. So that's why I would say that I'm sure we will hear deliberations from our friends, from our colleagues, parliamentarians from other countries. I hope they will share my views. So here, then lack of ruling party's initiative to introduce needed law, which I have already mentioned. Lack of training of members of the law enforcement agencies. Lack of training of the members of law enforcing agencies. Why? One of them is fund, requisite fund. And then absence of modern and scientific technology in information collection and gathering evidence. Also, we do not have the modern technology. That also we need a lot of fund. Even you see someone is saying that is okay. I mean, I'm a complainant. I successfully, or I succeed to lodge an FIR with the police station, where I have to spend money, of course. And because it's not easy, it's not free anymore. You have to pay money to have an FIR lodged. It depends how much on they will size you up, and then they will say, okay, this is how it is. And another, of course, you are a very influential member. And all these are there in your records, and well, that's the reality. I mean, I have seen that. A friend of mine was telling me that, this is a woman, she worked for the United Nations bodies for many years. She said, don't try to hide anything or plead the wrong case because these guys have all the information. So I saw in that dossier that you gave me, every information is there. So anyway, if you could successfully lodge a complaint with the police station, and then the cost of investigation, of course there's a cost. The policeman will tell you, I have no money to buy petrol, I have no money to go to another town, there are costs involved, you pay me money. And then, of course, that's the beginning, not the end, beginning of the beginning. So, so there is a funding problem. But if there was a fund for this guy, allocated for each police station for investigation, perhaps he would not have been, yet he could be greedy, but he would not have been so demanding maybe. And, okay, the other one is lack of witness protection. I think someone mentioned about that. And we do not have a law. There is no law to guarantee security of persons to give testimony in an open court, particularly where powerful politicians and or state officials are amongst the accused. This is again a reality, I think it's pretty common. And then, you see, I just want to quickly, whatever I thought, I didn't get much time actually. I jotted down these points yesterday in my office here. Recommendations. Now I would recommend that maybe it's not only for Bangladesh in general, the international reforms set up a Judicial Reform Commission to review outstanding concerns related to CAT. Then National Human Rights Commission should work independently. We do have a National Human Rights Commission, but unfortunately, if you ask me, are they working independently? They preach that they are independent, but in effect they are not. I'm sorry to say this. Because every time there is a change of government, the previous chairman of the commission would resign, although he is not required to, but he would resign. He said, because otherwise he would be cornered to such an extent that he would be humiliated to be in that office. So the guy resigns, and who is the new incumbent? Of course, pro-government incumbent. So he cannot operate independently. So that's why National Human Rights Commission should work independently and take steps against corruption and suggest police reform to conform with implementation of CAT. There is a draft police bill in my country, and it should be prepared following extensive public consultation. A close cooperation between parliamentarians and NGOs, which you have also proposed here, and civil society group should be developed. Implementing existing High Court guideline, it is about Bangladesh High Court, on safeguards regarding arrest without warrant and placing individuals in police remand under section 54 and 167 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. This one again, okay, I mean again, everyone who's in opposition says, I'll do this, going to power, they don't touch it. Okay, so this is again, and then ensuring independent, impartial, and adequate investigation of allegations of torture in different regimes, including the current ones, and prosecuting those found responsible. It is a far cry, but again, I just thought that I should put it in my recommendation. Adopting specific legislation on redress, including compensation for victims of arbitrary arrest and torture, removing declaration to international human rights instruments, in the 6 basic instruments which are integral to the human rights, to which Bangladesh is a party, including CAT, Article 14A. So this is again, of course, I'm touching Bangladesh and in general. The creation of a social legal framework that can effectively prevent torture can only be achieved through the active involvement of legislature of the country concerned. A major objective of the meeting is to develop a permanent forum of Asian parliamentarians for promotion and implementation of CAT. I think I definitely endorse this one. I come out very strongly on this one. And I think, I hope the honorable members participating in this will come out with such declaration. Then I have a few concluding remarks here, like parliamentarians can definitely play unique roles in construction of a torture-free society. And I feel that to achieve the objective of CAT, creation of sound legal framework is fundamental. But to prevent torture, it is equally important to change the mindset, which I mentioned, of the people involved in the operation of the missionaries at various levels of the government. In addition to making legislation, parliamentarians have, this one is important to know, have responsibility and authority to raise questions on the compliance by the government with the terms of the convention. I have the right to raise questions. There again, role of a parliamentarian is very effective and efficient. You see, you cannot do anything, but you definitely can embarrass a government on the floor of the parliament and say that there is a violation of this and this. You are a signatory to this, or you ratified this United Nations so-and-so treaty, and then you are not following it. So there again, parliamentarians can play a very effective role. And as parliamentarian, we also have a role in conflict resolution and peace building at our political constituencies, particularly between powerful and powerless groups, which can promote a torture-free environment. This is again a very fundamental issue, and I hope you understand, especially for people like us who work at the grassroots level. We come across such problem every day. So when I'm in my constituency, I don't know, on an average day, if I have to deal with 100 issues, at least 20 would be on this conflict between powerful and the powerless. And there your presence means a lot. Your presence means, and again, as I said, although I have sounded rather powerless as a parliamentarian, if I am an independent opposition, no. But again, whenever I am there in media, or now that this is the age of cell phone, and then these guys, the petty officials of the government, especially the police and all, they know that if I do something wrong, this guy is going to call his MP, or MP will summon me next time to his office in the constituency, and I'm going to have a hard time. So there is definitely a subdued pressure built on him, irrespective of the position. The very fact that we all are parliamentarians, I think we are very powerful, definitely, yes. And it is the process of law, it is the process through which we have to have patience, but definitely at the end of the tunnel we shall see the light. And I'll not take any more longer. Parliamentarians can also play effective roles in information dissemination, which I have elaborated before. Most potential victims of developing countries do not know about CAT and rights enshrined in it. This is very important. The victims in my country media, they have never heard about cat. Of course, this time when I go back, I'm going to talk about what is cat and all that, what not here. So this is again, this is the information dissemination and wide-scale publicity of cat. And I don't know, maybe you could go out in newspaper as in the form of newspaper ads more frequent. There could be some special fund allocated for such advertisements and all that. And to claim one's rights, one must have access to rights. You see, this is very important, again, fundamental. To claim that we must know about the access to rights. And anyway, I will not take any more. I can see that the chairman is not looking good at me. I thought he delivered a reasonably good speech, but I could not impress him. Anyway, I'm taking leave, and I am available. My address is there. I would be too pleased to communicate with any member here, irrespective of whether it's a parliamentarian or an NGO or anyone, any official here. I'm available. And let me tell you, before I came over here, or before I have had access to those dossiers, Ashraf sent me. Where is Ashraf? Is he here? Okay. He sent me, so my secretary in my office, I sent him, I forwarded to him, I said, give me printouts. And then he took out the printout, he said, sir, call me. He said, sir, it's a huge document. Do you want it? I said, yeah, of course I want it. I don't want to be fooled there, and I want to know what is going on and all that. Now, I have immensely benefited myself. Let me tell you this. And that's a very honest confession, honest statement, admission. You see that I personally have been immensely benefited. And after I go back from this conference to my country, to the parliament, and to my constituency, I go back as a believer in cat. Thank you very much, gentlemen.